Good day. I hope you're blessed and balanced. Ethereum, the smart contract standard. Bitcoin is great as a form of digital money, but its scripting language is too weak for any kind of serious advanced applications to be built on top. Vitalik Buterin. To begin with, we're going to go over what Ethereum is. And it's effectively several things, but smart contracts, token systems, and decentralized applications are the fundamental bedrock of Ethereum. So, smart contracts. These are effectively digital vending machines. Ethereum was designed as a platform to create code based digital agreements that automatically execute according to predetermined variables. Combining the trustless nature of the blockchain with the flexibility of Turing complete code affords novel apps and use cases. Token systems, blockchain native assets. Ethereum's programmability allows any asset to exist in blockchain native form as a token. The ICO boom of 2017 leveraged the ERC20 standard to fund new projects, while the NFT craze of 2021 mostly used the ERC721 standard. From tokens like Link and USDC to NFTs of Banksy artwork, land deeds, medical records, etc., all are powered by Ethereum's token system. Decentralized applications, Web 3.0. Most apps host their code on private centralized servers. In contrast, Ethereum based applications run back end code on decentralized peer to peer networks. DApps benefit from zero downtime, immutable and verifiable data, full auditability, and private permissionless access. MetaMask, Uniswap, Aave, Compound are some of the most prominent DApps in the Ethereum ecosystem. Now, these core functions right here are quite integral to understanding why Ethereum has gained the prominence that it has over time, because as that first quote that we went through initially laid out, Bitcoin set the stage, right? Bitcoin began a new era of computing, cryptography, and interaction with digitally native systems. However, based on how Bitcoin is designed and its specific focused use case, it's not highly programmable. Now, technically, you can build smart applications, smart contracts rather, using Bitcoin, but it is not nearly as effective, efficient, or expressive or easy to do as Ethereum is. And because of the smart contracts, that's effectively what allows the rest to be possible on Ethereum. And these smart contracts, they're basically these digital vending machines where if you put in the right input, you get a specific output. And in these token systems, this is what allows people to create these digital assets on top, whether it be an altcoin, which tend to come into existence because the project, whether it be Augur, which was Ethereum's very first ICO, or be something like Chainlink, typically these projects create tokens so that they can, one, fund the project, and then two, build in different use cases for their project by way of these tokens. But also with NFTs, those are tokenized versions of assets, whether they be natively digital assets or be it something like a land deed or invoice for business, something like that. And then the decentralized applications is effectively where we see the combination of a bunch of smart contracts on the back end being put in unison with a more user-friendly interface on the front end for consumers to use and interact with, and just simplify that whole process. So we're going to talk in a little bit more detail about how that all works. So a cryptographic box primed to dispense its contents should certain conditions be met. Nick Szabo dubbed Ethereum a virtual vending machine. As the original blockchain-based Turing-complete programming language, Ethereum has amassed a staggering variety of developers and founders building out applications and services that have never before been possible. Smart contract-enabled DApps are cementing the foundation of the Web 3.0 future. So smart contracts. These are essentially the blockchain-based if-then statements existing as an Ethereum account that can hold a balance and execute transactions. These contracts are automatically executed, composable, accessible to anyone without permission, and can even be fed real-world data by leveraging oracles. And decentralized apps, this is the front-end user experience. dApps combine the power of smart contracts with a user-facing front end to allow for easy, intuitive interaction. These dApps function like APIs to increase composability and functionality, enabling rapid iteration and innovation. The idea of Web 3.0 relies upon dApps serving as the de facto standard for applications, products, and services. A proof of stake, efficient incentives. Instead of using computational miners a la proof of work, validators must stake 32 or more Ethereum in escrow-esque fashion to secure the network via block proposal and attestation. Along with reduced energy demands, proof of stake better incentivizes good actors, lowers hardware requirements, and helps support sharding, a key component of the ETH 2.0 scaling solution. So we already discussed the smart contracts a bit. We talked about the decentralized apps. Proof of stake is something that is a pivot for Ethereum. Ethereum launched originally as a proof of work consensus mechanism, very similarly to Bitcoin's consensus mechanism, but the pivot to proof of stake is effectively a requirement, and it was laid out in the vision early on for Ethereum, but it's necessary to allow Ethereum to scale to the throughput required for Ethereum to be viable in the long run. Because up to this point, a lot of Ethereum's criticism and a lot of Ethereum's problems have actually stemmed from the lower transaction ability, the lower transaction per second that Ethereum as proof of work could handle. When you switch to proof of stake, it effectively allows for the sharding aspect of the ETH 2.0 framework to behave better. And on top of that, from the efficient incentives perspective, the reason I described it as such is because when people stake, if they behave maliciously, meaning if they propose malicious blocks or incorrect blocks, and to the same, if they attest for malicious blocks being valid, then they will get slashed. And what that means is a part of their stake will be removed and moved basically out of their possession. So if somebody behaves maliciously, they lose their stake. And 32 Ethereum, even at the time of recording, is, closer to six figures than it isn't. And should the price of Ethereum continue to rise, who knows? And obviously, the more that somebody stakes, the more they have at risk. So it actually is a better way to incentivize cooperation across all of the validators who are staking their Ethereum. So let's discuss the technology. Now, the pros of Ethereum, the main one being that it is a programmable and Turing-complete language. And all that really means, right, from a high level, meaning really broad strokes, is that it affords a coding language that has more expressibility and more logic. And as such, that's what allows people to create such nuanced and specific programs and dApps and smart contracts using Ethereum. And then the other aspect is it's composable and interoperable, and this goes hand in hand with the smart contract aspect because there's often been this term of these Legos, right? Because one person can build a smart contract that has a functionality for, let's say, a savings wallet, right? Where, okay, if you deposit this much of X token or asset, then you will get, Y yield from it. And then somebody can take that base layer component, build it into another application they have, let's say a wallet, and then now they can make sure that that wallet has the same savings and yield functionality as this separate smart contract because they were able to integrate it as if it was an API into what it is that they're building. So it allows for things to be built far more quickly and iterated upon far more quickly as well. And then the robust ecosystem development. So Ethereum is what kicked off effectively the smart contract and dApp segment the same way that Bitcoin really got blockchain in front of everybody's mind. That being the case, there anytime you hear somebody talk about an altcoin or or some sort of application that's built on the blockchain, a lot of those are built on Ethereum. And until competitors came around, other smart contract platforms like Kusama, Polkadot, what Cardano is attempting to do, Ethereum was basically the only game in town. But as it stands right now, there are other smart contract platforms, but the majority of any apps with large traction and use is built on top of Ethereum. And then energy friendly from the proof of stake standpoint. Now, it's no secret, proof of work uses a lot of energy. Now, oftentimes the amount of energy used is a bit blown out of proportion if people really want to assess the things in existence within society and the technology industry that use immense amounts of energy. Nevertheless, proof of stake is more efficient. And in terms of cons, well, there is a substantial update roadmap ahead for Ethereum, and this was the case from inception, basically. And so, people who are very strong proponents, I'd call them absolutists about Bitcoin and nothing else. What they point out is that Ethereum is consistently in a beta state, whereas Bitcoin more or less is done. And that being the case, some things are just so ambitious that it makes the only viability for it to ever come to fruition is to break it down into smaller pieces as far as how it is built out and developed. But that being the case, technically it is a beta, and every time there's a major update, there's an opportunity for a major flaw or a major exploit or a major hiccup in that process. So that is something that one could view as a con. And then smart contract vulnerability. Because anybody can create these smart contracts, depending on how they are constructed and put together, they will be either more sound or less sound, and they can be vulnerable to exploitation depending on how those contracts were written. And then low quality, low security projects. Well, because of the robust ecosystem that Ethereum has spawned in its existence, in its creation, there are a lot of projects that just aren't very good, have poor security, poor code bases, and sometimes what you find is very prominent within the Ethereum space, which I almost never see inside of Bitcoin development, is that a lot of developers in Ethereum are anonymous. And sometimes that's a good thing, and I can understand maybe why somebody doesn't want to be perhaps put at risk or the center of anything, but with that anonymity, brings a lot of malicious actors who will build a project up and then maybe exit, scam, rug pull, or just exit entirely, and to the detriment and the hurt of anybody who was using the platform at the time. Now, as far as the team, well, there's very strong leadership and organization. You have Vitalik, who is, you know, very, very brainiac, right? It's almost, think about if Satoshi Nakamoto were around to talk about Bitcoin, to really be in and outs day in, day out. Well, Ethereum has that in Vitalik. But aside from Vitalik, there's also the Ethereum Foundation. There's the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. There's Consensus. There are so many different entities that have built themselves up around Ethereum to help drive the ecosystem forward, whether it's from the development, grassroots side of it. There's so many hackathons and things to really bring new talent into the space, coders, developers, or be it something like the EEA, the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, whose mission is to effectively go out and help businesses, conglomerates, corporations, enterprises see how they could be benefited by using smart contracts in Ethereum and dApps and so on and so forth. Now, on top of that, you have the largest development community in all of cryptocurrency and all of blockchain. Because of the composability inherent with Ethereum's language, it means that most of the development inside of blockchain is for Ethereum, because there's only so much development you can do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin really only exists at this point to preserve value, to store value, whereas Ethereum is actually what is able to power applications that are native to the blockchain. Other pro is that it's a very ambitious team. They are definitely no strangers to being audacious, right? Having really big goals that may seem like a lot to bite off, but so far they've been chugging along. The collaborative nature of the team. it's hard to develop really, really big things by yourself, right? Satoshi, whether it was one individual or 1,000 individuals, more or less, if we're just looking at Satoshi Nakamoto, assuming it's one person, well, they had to write a code and put something together to create Bitcoin. But at that point forward, there's been very little development, massive development or changes or additions to the Bitcoin protocol because that's not truly its intention. Whereas Ethereum is basically the opposite of that, where the goal is to continue to push forward and build so long as the application that is being designed and built truly benefits by being blockchain integrated, blockchain native. And then talent specialization. Because of so many different subsectors within the space, you have the DeFi scene, and even within that, you have wallets, you have payments, you have saving protocols, you have staking protocols, you have yield farms, you have prediction markets, you have data feeds. There's just so many different sub niches that it requires high specialization. Now, the cons, well, there's definitely a move fast and break things approach and mindset when it comes to the Ethereum team. And as a result, sometimes things do break. Now, the good news is typically the flaws, the errors, the breaks, right? They have not happened to the Ethereum network in and of itself, the underlying Ethereum code, but rather it's typically an issue with the smart contract composition or the execution. And as such, sometimes things break. And then the other con is that there is a prominent founder in leadership. A lot of people who are very committed to the cryptocurrency space. It's not just for the technology, the blockchain technology, it's also for the ethos, the spirit, the philosophy of cryptocurrency, of trustlessness, of confirmed verifiability. As that being the case, the idea of having some leader turns a lot of people off, because if they're a leader with a strong following, then that also means that when they're doing well and leadership is going according to the one's liking, then it's no problem. But the moment that leadership is used either maliciously or pulls the project away from its intentions or away from its goals, it can actually become a problem. And then the diffused efforts. The benefit with a project like Bitcoin is, for the most part, everybody's kind of working on the same thing, or there's a greater focus on what the mission of Bitcoin is. With Ethereum, and there being so many subcategories that have come into existence as a result of the different DApps that have been created, it spreads out a lot of the talent and the effort. And so instead of everybody being able to coordinate and laser focus their energy on a specific area, a specific aspect of improving Ethereum, a lot of this talent gets spread out across the ecosystem. Now, the tokenomics of Ethereum. Stake tokens exiting circulation. When people stake their tokens, whether it be them staking directly with that minimum of 32 ETH or more, or them contributing their stake to a larger pool, this it removes tokens from circulation. And as they get removed from circulation, this can have a positive effect on the price of Ethereum, because as they're removed from circulation, the supply drops, and when supply drops, scarcity increases, which can increase the demand, or the value rather, of the token. And then similarly, gas that's being used for the DApps means that there is a high utility and thus a high demand for ETH itself, because it is used as gas. And sure, most coins, whether it be Bitcoin, Ethereum, they are used natively to burn or to pay for the fees for their transactions, but there are so many transactions on the Ethereum network because of all of the DApp usage that it's a significant impact to the utility of the token itself. And then the burn mechanism introduced in the IP 1559 and the restructuring of the fee auctions, that also has a positive effect pressure-wise on the price of Ethereum, because as gas is burned during these transactions, it removes Ethereum from the circulating supply. And then what I think is actually probably the most prominent benefit for the tokenomics of Ethereum is this idea of the triple point asset. Now, basically what that means is, because you have different asset classes, and effectively you have capital assets, you have consumable assets, and you have store value assets. And we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but Ethereum serves as all three of those, and there aren't too many other tokens, or rather Ethereum is the default triple point asset, and as such, you're actually noticing that some of these other smart contract platforms are poised to be in a similar position, but Ethereum is obviously far and ahead, out front the leader. Now, the cons, there is a mutable monetary policy, meaning historically, Ethereum, it's in their ethos, even in the white paper, it's in their philosophy that they are going to be agile, be nimble. As such, that means that they will change things at different times, so long as it moves them towards the greater ambition of the project. And for some, this makes them a little bit wary because, however, the tokenomics function at this current moment in time could be altered down the road because of this mutability. And then unlimited supply. So even though EIP 1559 introduces some additional positive pressures in terms of the price by removing Ethereum from circulation, there still is an unlimited supply. There is no fixed cap that says, okay, at this point in time, there will be no more Ethereum minted. And as such, that is a negative for the supply. Ethereum's ambitious intentions. Since the white paper launch, Ethereum is a complex and ambitious project. Where Bitcoin laid out a concise and singular purpose, Ethereum cast a vision of an entire ecosystem that could emerge from its Turing-complete code base. Where Bitcoin launched near final form, Ethereum debuted, embarking upon a new frontier of internet-enabled computing and applications. Extrapolating upon the promise of smart contracts and dApps, possibilities detailed at inception included tokenization systems, financial derivatives, stable currency pegs, DAOs, prediction markets, and more. Though it has endured technical hurdles, and many remain to be cleared, Ethereum has already realized the vast majority of its intentions. Housing more development and evolution than any other blockchain project in history, it appears ETH 2.0 will continue pressing forward towards the horizon to chart new territories.